Botswana.
Botswana/Bats, officially the Republic of Botswana, is a landlocked country located in southern Africa. The citizens refer to themselves as Batswana. Formerly the British Protectorate of Bechuanaland, Botswana adopted its new name after becoming independent within the Commonwealth on September 30, 1966. It has held uninterrupted democratic elections since independence. Botswana is flat, and up to 70% is covered by the Kalahari Desert. It is bordered by South Africa to the south and southeast, Namibia to the west and north, and Zimbabwe to the northeast. Its border with Zambia to the north near Kasungula, Zambia, is poorly defined but at most is a few hundred meters long. A mid-sized country of just over 2 million people, Botswana is one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. Botswana was one of the poorest countries in Africa when it gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1966, with a GDP per capita of about $70 per year. Botswana has since transformed itself, becoming one of the fastest-growing economies in the world with a GDP, purchasing power parity, per capita of about $16,400 per year as of 2013, and a high gross national income, possibly the fourth largest in Africa, giving the country a modest standard of living. The country, being a member of the African Union, also has a strong tradition as a representative democracy and has the second highest Human Development Index of continental sub-Saharan African countries, despite having been ravaged by the AIDS epidemic.
History.
In the 19th century, hostilities broke out between Tswana inhabitants of Botswana and Bell tribes who were making incursions into the territory from the northeast. Tensions also escalated with the Dutch Boer settlers from the Transvaal to the east. After appeals by the Batswana leaders Khama III, Bathan and Sibel for assistance, the British government put Bechuanaland under its protection on March 31, 1885. The Northern Territory remained under direct administration as the Bechuanaland Protectorate and is modern-day Botswana, while the Southern Territory became part of the Cape Colony and is now part of the Northwest Province of South Africa. The majority of Setswana-speaking people today live in South Africa. When the Union of South Africa was formed in 1910 out of the main British colonies in the region, the Bechuanaland Protectorate, Basutoland, now Lesotho, and Swaziland, the High Commission territories were not included, but provision was made for their later incorporation. However, their inhabitants began to be consulted by the UK, and although successive South African governments sought to have the territories transferred, the UK kept delaying. Consequently, it never occurred. The election of the nationalist government in 1948, which instituted apartheid, and South Africa's withdrawal from the Commonwealth in 1961, ended any prospect of incorporation of the territories into South Africa. An expansion of British central authority and the evolution of tribal government resulted in the 1920 establishment of two advisory councils to represent both Africans and Europeans. Proclamations in 1934 regulated tribal rule and powers. A European African Advisory Council was formed in 1951, and the 1961 Constitution established a consultative legislative council. In June 1964, the UK accepted proposals for a democratic self-government in Botswana. The seat of government was moved in 1965 from Mafeking in South Africa, to the newly established Gaborone, which sits near its border. The 1965 Constitution led to the first general elections into independence on September 30, 1966. Soretz Khama, a leader in the independence movement and a legitimate claimant to the NGWATO chiefship, was elected as the first president, going on to be re-elected twice. The presidency passed to the sitting vice president, Kwet Masia, who was elected in his own right in 1984 and re-elected in 1989 and 1994. Masia retired from office in 1998, and was succeeded by Festus Mogae, who was elected in his own right in 1999 and re-elected in 2004. The presidency passed in 2008 to Ian Khama, son of the first president, who had been serving as Mogi's vice president since resigning his position in 1998 as commander of the Botswana Defence Force, to take up this civilian role. A long-running dispute over the northern border with Namibia's Caprivi Strip was the subject of a ruling by the International Court of Justice in December 1999, which ruled that Kasakili Island belongs to Botswana.
Geography.
At 581,730 kilometers to 224,607 square miles, Botswana is the world's 48th largest country. It is comparable in size to Madagascar. It lies between latitudes 17 deg and 27 degs, and longitudes 20 deg and 30 dege. The country is predominantly flat, tending toward gently rolling tableland. Botswana is dominated by the Kalahari Desert, which covers up to 70% of its land surface. The Okavango Delta, one of the world's largest inland deltas, is in the northwest. The Makgadikgadi Pan, a large salt pan, lies in the north. The Limpopo River Basin, the major landform of all of southern Africa, lies partly in Botswana, with the basins of its tributaries, the Notwane, Bonwapitz, Mahalapswe, Lotsane, Motludes and the Shash, located in the eastern part of the country. The Notwane provides water to the capital through the Gaborone Dam. The Cope River lies to the north, providing a boundary between Botswana and Namibia's Zambezi region. The Cope River meets with the Zambezi River at a place called Kazungula, meaning a small sausage tree, a point where Sebutwan and his Makololo tribe crossed the Zambezi into Zambia.
Ecology.
Botswana has diverse areas of wildlife habitat. In addition to the delta and desert areas, there are grasslands and savannas, where blue wildebeest, antelopes, and other mammals and birds are found. Northern Botswana has one of the few remaining large populations of the endangered African wild dog. Cope National Park, found in the Cope district, has the world's largest concentration of African elephants. The park covers about 11,000 kilometers to 4,247 square miles, and supports about 350 species of birds. The Cope National Park and Marimi Game Reserve, in the Okavango Delta, are major tourist destinations. Other reserves include the Central Kalahari Game Reserve located in the Kalahari Desert in Ganzi District. Makgadikgadi Pan's National Park and Nxai Pan National Park are in Central District in the Makgadikgadi Pan. Mashachu Game Reserve is privately owned, located where the Shash River and Limpopo River meet in eastern Botswana. The other privately owned reserve is Mokolodi Nature Reserve near Gaborone. There are also specialized sanctuaries like the Kema Rhino Sanctuary, for rhinoceros, and Makgadikgadi Sanctuary, for flamingos. They are both located in Central District.
Environmental problems.
Botswana faces two major environmental problems, drought and desertification. The desertification problems predominantly stem from the severe times of drought in the country. 3/4 of the country's human and animal populations depend on groundwater due to drought. Groundwater use through deep borehole drilling has somewhat eased the effects of drought. Surface water is scarce in Botswana and less than 5% of the agriculture in the country is sustainable by rainfall. In the remaining 95% of the country, raising livestock is the primary source of rural income. Approximately 71% of the country's land is used for communal grazing, which has been a major cause of the desertification and the accelerating soil erosion of the country. Since raising livestock has proven to be profitable for the people of Botswana, the land continues to be exploited. The animal populations have continued to dramatically increase. From 1966 to 1991, the livestock population has increased from 1.7 million to 5.5 million. 64. Similarly, the human population has increased from 574,000 in 1971 to 1.5 million in 1995, nearly a 200% increase. Over 50% of all households in Botswana own cattle, which is currently the largest single source of rural income. Rangeland degradation or desertification is regarded as the reduction in land productivity as a result of overstocking and overgrazing or as a result of veldt product gathering for commercial use. Degradation is exacerbated by the effects of drought and climate change. Environmentalists report that the Okavango Delta is drying up due to the increased grazing of livestock. The Okavango Delta is one of the major semi-forested wetlands in Botswana and one of the largest inland deltas in the world. It is a crucial ecosystem to the survival of many animals. The Department of Forestry and Range Resources has already begun to implement a project to reintroduce indigenous vegetation into communities in Goligadi South, Kwaneng North and Batati. Reintroduction of indigenous vegetation will help with the degradation of the land. The United States government has also entered into an agreement with Botswana, giving them $7 million to reduce Botswana's debt by $8.3 million. The stipulation of the U.S. reducing Botswana's debt is that Botswana will focus on more extensive conservation of the land. The United Nations Development Programme claims that poverty is a major problem behind the overexploitation of resources, including land, in Botswana. To help change this, the UNDP joined in with a project started in the southern community of Struizendam in Botswana. The purpose of the project is to draw from indigenous knowledge and traditional land management systems. The leaders of this movement are supposed to be the people in the community, to draw them in turn increasing their possibilities to earn an income and thus decreasing poverty. The UNDP also stated that the government has to effectively implement policies to allow people to manage their own local resources and are giving the government information to help with policy development.
Politics and government.
The Constitution of Botswana is the rule of law which protects the citizens of Botswana and represents their rights. The politics of Botswana take place in a framework of a representative democratic republic, whereby the President of Botswana is both head of state and head of government, and of a multi-party system. Executive power is exercised by the government. Legislative power is vested in both the government and the Parliament of Botswana. The most recent election, its 10th, was held on October 16, 2009. Since independence was declared, the party system has been dominated by the Botswana Democratic Party. The judiciary is independent of the executive and the legislature. According to Transparency International, Botswana is the least corrupt country in Africa and ranks similarly close to Portugal and South Korea.
Foreign relations and military.
At the time of independence, Botswana had no armed forces. It was only after the Rhodesian and South African militaries struck respectively against the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Army in Umkhonto-we-Sizwe where bases that the Botswana Defence Force, BDF, was formed in 1977. The President is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and appoints a Defence Council. The BDF has approximately 12,000 members. Following political changes in South Africa and the region, the BDF's missions have increasingly focused on prevention of poaching, preparing for disasters, and foreign peacekeeping. The United States has been the largest single foreign contributor to the development of the BDF, and a large segment of its officer corps have received U.S. training. It is considered an apolitical and professional institution. The Botswana government gave the United States the green light to explore the possibility of establishing an Africa Command, AFRICOM, base in the country.
Administrative divisions.
Botswana is divided into 9 districts.
Economy.
The Bank of Botswana serves as a central bank in order to develop and maintain the Botswana pula, the country's currency. Since independence, Botswana has had one of the fastest growth rates in per capita income in the world. Botswana has transformed itself from one of the poorest countries in the world to a middle-income country. By one estimate, it has the 4th highest gross national income at purchasing power parity in Africa, giving it a standard of living around that of Mexico and Turkey. The Ministry of Trade and Industry of Botswana is responsible for promoting business development throughout the country. According to the International Monetary Fund, economic growth averaged over 9% per year from 1966 to 1999. Botswana has a high level of economic freedom compared to other African countries. The government has maintained a sound fiscal policy, despite consecutive budget deficits in 2002 and 2003, and a negligible level of foreign debt. It earned the highest sovereign credit rating in Africa and has stockpiled foreign exchange reserves, over $7 billion in 2005-2006, amounting to almost 2.5 years of current imports. An array of financial institutions populates the country's financial system, with pension funds and commercial banks being the two most important segments by asset size. Banks remain profitable, well capitalized, and liquid, as a result of growing national resources and high interest rates. Botswana's competitive banking system is one of Africa's most advanced. Generally adhering to global standards in the transparency of financial policies and banking supervision, the financial sector provides ample access to credit for entrepreneurs. The opening of Capital Bank in 2008 brought the total number of licensed banks to 8. The government is involved in banking through state-owned financial institutions and a special financial incentives program that is aimed at increasing Botswana's status as a financial center. Credit is allocated on market terms, although the government provides subsidized loans. Reform of non-bank financial institutions has continued in recent years, notably through the establishment of a single financial regulatory agency that provides more effective supervision. The government has abolished exchange controls, and with the resulting creation of new portfolio investment options, the Botswana Stock Exchange is growing. The constitution prohibits the nationalization of private property and provides for an independent judiciary, and the government respects this in practice. The legal system is sufficient to conduct secure commercial dealings, although a serious and growing backlog of cases prevents timely trials. The protection of intellectual property rights has improved significantly. Botswana is ranked second only to South Africa among sub-Saharan Africa countries in the 2009 International Property Rights Index. While generally open to foreign participation in its economy, Botswana reserves some sectors for citizens. Increased foreign investment plays a significant role in the privatization of state-owned enterprises. Investment regulations are transparent, and bureaucratic procedures are streamlined and open, although somewhat slow. Investment returns such as profits and dividends, debt service, capital gains, returns on intellectual property, royalties, franchises fees, and service fees can be repatriated without limits. Botswana imports refined petroleum products and electricity from South Africa. There is some domestic production of electricity from coal. In spite of one of the highest insolation levels in the world, Botswana has no significant solar energy capacity.
Gemstones and precious metals.
In Botswana, the Department of Mines and Ministry of Minerals, Energy and Water Resources, led by Honorable Wankokim Kitsomokela in Gaborone, maintains data regarding mining throughout the country. Botswana, the largest diamond mining company operating in Botswana, is 50% owned by the government. The mineral industry provides about 40% of all government revenues. In 2007, significant quantities of uranium were discovered, and mining was projected to begin by 2010. Several international mining corporations have established regional headquarters in Botswana, and prospected for diamonds, gold, uranium, copper, and even oil, many coming back with positive results. Government announced in early 2009 that they would try to shift their economic dependence on diamonds, over serious concern that diamonds are predicted to dry out in Botswana over the next 20 years. Botswana's Orapa mine is the largest diamond mine in the world in terms of value and quantity of carats produced annually. Estimated to produce over 11 million carats in 2013, with an average price of $145 per carat, the Orapa mine is estimated to produce over $1.6 billion worth of diamonds in 2013.
Demographics.
The Tswana are the majority ethnic group in Botswana, making up 79% of the population. The largest minority ethnic groups are the Ba Kalanga, San or Abathwa, also known as Basawa. Other tribes are Baye, Bambukashu, Basubia, Bayariro and Bakgoligadi. In addition, there are small numbers of whites and Indians, both groups being roughly equally small in number. Botswana's Indian population is made up of many Indian Africans of several generations, from Mozambique, Kenya, Tanzania, Mauritius, South Africa, and so on, as well as first-generation Indian immigrants. The white population speaks English and Afrikaans and makes up roughly 3% of the population. Since 2000, because of deteriorating economic conditions in Zimbabwe, the number of Zimbabweans in Botswana has risen into the tens of thousands. Fewer than 10,000 San are still living the traditional hunter-gatherer style of life. Since the mid-1990s, the central government of Botswana has been trying to move San out of their lands. The union's top official on indigenous rights, Professor James Anea, condemned Botswana's actions toward the San in a report released in February 2010.
Language.
The official language of Botswana is English, although Setswana is widely spoken across the country. In Setswana, prefixes are more important than they are in many other languages. These prefixes include bo, which refers to the country, ba, which refers to the people, mo, which is one person, and se, which is the language. For example, the main tribe of Botswana is the Tswana people, hence the name Botswana for its country. The people as a whole are Batswana, one person is a Motswana, and the language they speak is Setswana. Other languages spoken in Botswana include Kolonga, Sekolonga, Zawa, Sisawa, Ndebele and in some parts Afrikaans.
Religion.
An estimated 70% of the country's citizens identify themselves as Christians. Anglicans, Methodists, and the United Congregational Church of Southern Africa make up the majority of Christians. There are also congregations of Lutherans, Baptists, the Dutch Reformed Church, Mennonites, and other sects such as Roman Catholics, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormon and Jehovah's Witness congregations in the country. In Gaborone, there is a Lutheran History Center which is open to the public. According to the 2001 census, the country has around 5,000 Muslims, mainly from South Asia, 3,000 Hindus and 700 Baha'is. Approximately 20% of citizens espouse no religion. Religious services are well attended in both rural and urban areas.
Culture.
Besides referring to the language of the dominant people groups in Botswana, Setswana is the adjective used to describe the rich cultural traditions of the Batswana, whether construed as members of the Tswana ethnic groups or of all citizens of Botswana. The Scottish writer Alexander McCall Smith has written popular novels, No One Ladies Detective Agency series, about Botswana that entertain as well as inform the reader about the culture and customs of Botswana.
Music.
Botswana music is mostly vocal and performed sometimes without drums depending on the occasion. It also makes heavy use of string instruments. Botswana folk music has instruments such as sitinkan, a Botswana version of miniature piano, sega and kuasagaba, a Botswana version of the Chinese instrument ahu, maropa, maropa plural, a Botswana version of the many varieties of drums, fala, a Botswana version of a whistle used mostly during celebrations. It comes in variety of forms too. Botswana cultural musical instruments are not confined only to the strings or drums. Their hands are used as musical instruments too, by either clapping them together or against fathisi, goat skin turned inside out wrapped around the calf area. It is only used by men, to create music and rhythm. For the last few decades, the guitar has been celebrated as a versatile music instrument for Tswana music as it offers a variety in string which the sagaba instrument does not have. It is the outsider that found a home within the culture. The highlight of any celebration or event that shows especially happiness is the dancing. This differs by regime, age, gender and status in the group, or if it's a tribal activity, your status in the community. The national anthem is Fachlino La Rona. Written and composed by Gail Mangtumidiso Motsit, it was adopted upon independence in 1966.
Visual arts.
In the northern part of Botswana, women in the villages of Itcha and Gamera are noted for their skill at crafting baskets from Botswana's from mocha palm and local dyes. The baskets are generally woven into three types: large, lidded baskets used for storage, large, open baskets for carrying objects on the head or for winnowing threshed grain, and smaller plates for winnowing pounded grain. The artistry of these baskets is being steadily enhanced through color use and improved designs as they are increasingly produced for commercial use. Other notable artistic communities include Thamaka pottery and Odi weavers, both located in the southeastern part of Botswana. The oldest paintings from both Botswana and South Africa depict hunting, animal and human figures, and were made by the Khoisan Kungsan Bushmen, over 20,000 years ago within the Kalahari Desert.
Food.
The cuisine of Botswana is unique but also shares some characteristics with other cuisine of southern Africa. Examples of Botswana food are pap, boerewors, samp, vetkoork and mupini worms. A food unique to Botswana includes sesa, heavily salted mashed-up meat.
Sports.
Football is the most popular sport in Botswana, with qualification for the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations being the biggest achievement to date. Other popular sports are cricket, tennis, rugby, badminton, softball, handball, golf, and track and field. Botswana is an associate member of the International Cricket Council. Botswana became a member of the International Badminton Federation and Africa Badminton Federation in 1991. Presently, the Botswana Golf Union offers an amateur golf league in which golfers compete in tournaments and championships. Botswana won its first Olympic medal in 2012 when Nigel Amos won silver in the 800 meters. In 2011 Amantle Montsho became world champion in the 400 meters and won Botswana's first athletics medal on the world level. Another famous Botswana athlete is high jumper Kaba Lokasiamang, 3 times African champion. The card game bridge has a strong following. It was first played in Botswana over 30 years ago and grew in popularity during the 1980s. Many British expatriate school teachers informally taught the game in Botswana's secondary schools. The Botswana Bridge Federation, BBF, was founded in 1988 and continues to organize tournaments. Bridge has remained popular and the BBF has over 800 members. In 2007, the BBF invited the English Bridge Union to host a week-long teaching program in May 2008.
Holidays. Education.
Botswana has made great strides in educational development since independence in 1966. At that time there were very few graduates in the country and only a very small percentage of the population attended secondary school. Botswana increased its adult literacy rate from 69% in 1991 to 83% in 2008. With the discovery of diamonds and the increase in government revenue that this brought, there was a huge increase in educational provision in the country. All students were guaranteed 10 years of basic education, leading to a junior certificate qualification. Approximately half of the school population attends a further 2 years of secondary schooling, leading to the award of a Botswana General Certificate of Secondary Education, BGCSE. Secondary education in Botswana is neither free nor compulsory. After leaving school, students can attend one of the 7 technical colleges in the country, or take vocational training courses in teaching or nursing. The best students enter the University of Botswana, Botswana College of Agriculture, and the Botswana Accountancy College in Gaborone. Many other students end up in the numerous private tertiary education colleges around the country. Notable amongst these is Bota University, the country's first private university which offers undergraduate programs in accounting, business and computing. Another international university is the Limca Queen University of Creative Technology which offers various associate degrees in creative arts. Other tertiary institutions include Bar Asego, ABM University College, New Era, Gaborone Institute of Professional Studies etc. Tremendous strides in providing quality education have been made by private education providers such that a large number of the best students in the country are now applying to them as well. A vast majority of these students are government-sponsored. A larger influx of tertiary students is expected when construction of the nation's second international university, the Botswana International University of Science and Technology, is completed in Palapi. The quantitative gains have not always been matched by qualitative ones. Primary schools in particular still lack resources, and the teachers are less well paid than their secondary school colleagues. The Botswana Ministry of Education is working to establish libraries in primary schools in partnership with the African Library Project. The government of Botswana hopes that by investing a large part of national income in education, the country will become less dependent on diamonds for its economic survival, and less dependent on expatriates for its skilled workers. Those objectives are in part pursued through policies in favor of vocational education, gathered within the NPVET National Policy on Vocational Education and Training, aiming at integrate the different types of vocational education and training into one comprehensive system. Botswana invests 21% of its government spending in education. In January 2006, Botswana announced the reintroduction of school fees after 2 decades of free state education, though the government still provides full scholarships with living expenses to any Botswana citizen in university, either at the University of Botswana or if the student wishes to pursue an education in any field not offered locally, such as medicine, they are provided with a full scholarship to study abroad.
Health.
The Ministry of Health in Botswana is responsible for overseeing the quality and distribution of health care throughout the country. Life expectancy at birth was 55 in 2009 according to the World Bank, having previously fallen from a peak of 64.1 in 1990 to a low of 49 in 2002. The Cancer Association of Botswana is a voluntary non-governmental organization. The association is a member of the Union for International Cancer Control. The association supplements existing services through provision of cancer prevention and health awareness programs, facilitating access to health services for cancer patients and offering support and counseling to those affected.
Hospitals.
In Botswana, there are hospitals throughout the country which include Athlone Hospital, Bamalit Lutheran Hospital, Bokamoso Hospital, Deborah Retief Memorial Hospital, Gaborone Private Hospital, Ganzi Hospital, Lichlavabitu Memorial Hospital, Mahalapi Hospital, Nyanjubgwi Hospital, Princess Marina Hospital, Scottish Livingston Hospital, Sekgamum Memorial Hospital, Bobanung Primary Hospitality, Salibai Fakwe Hospital, Seventh-day Adventist Hospital.
HIV/AIDS epidemic.
Like elsewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, the economic impact of AIDS is considerable. Economic development spending was cut by 10% in 2002 March as a result of recurring budget deficits and rising expenditure on healthcare services. Botswana has been hit very hard by the AIDS pandemic. In 2006 it was estimated that life expectancy at birth had dropped from 65 to 35 years. However, after Botswana's 2011 census, current life expectancy is estimated at 54.06 years. This revision shows the difficulty of accurately estimating the prevalence and impact of HIV/AIDS in the absence of hard numbers. The prevalence of HIV/AIDS in Botswana was estimated at 24% for adults in 2006. In 2003, the government began a comprehensive program involving free or cheap generic antiretroviral drugs as well as an information campaign designed to stop the spread of the virus. Under the leadership of Festus Mogi, the government of Botswana solicited outside help in fighting HIV/AIDS and received early support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Merck Foundation, and together formed the African Comprehensive HIV/AIDS Partnership, ACHAP. Other early partners include the Botswana Harvard AIDS Institute, of the Harvard School of Public Health and the Botswana Open Partnership of the University of Pennsylvania. According to the 2011 UNAIDS report, universal access to treatment, defined as 80% coverage or greater, has been achieved in Botswana. Potential reasons for Botswana's high HIV prevalence include concurrent sexual partnerships, transactional sex, cross-generational sex, and a significant number of people who travel outside of their local communities in pursuit of work. The promiscuous nature of many sexual relationships further impacts the health situation, to the extent that it has given rise to a love vocabulary that is unique to the region. Approximately 1 in 6 Botswana has HIV, giving Botswana the second highest infection rate in the world after nearby Swaziland. The government recognizes that AIDS will affect the economy and is trying to combat the epidemic, including free antiretroviral drug treatment and a nationwide prevention of mother-to-child transmission program. Botswana has reduced HIV transmission from infected mothers to their children from about 40% to just 4%.
Tourism.
The Botswana Tourism Organization is the country's official tourism group. Primarily, tourists visit Gaborone due to the city having numerous activities for visitors. Hotels include the Lungho Landsmoor Square, a 5-star hotel, and the Gaborone Sun, a luxury hotel that also features a casino. The Lion Park Resort is Botswana's first permanent amusement park and hosts events such as birthday parties for families. In Botswana, there are also destinations which include the Gaborone Yacht Club and the Kalahari Fishing Club. In addition, natural attractions for tourists in Botswana include the Gaborone Dam and Mokolodi Nature Reserve. There are golf courses which are maintained by the Botswana Golf Union, BGU. The Fakelane Golf Estate is a multi-million-dollar clubhouse that offers both hotel accommodations and access to golf courses. Museums in Botswana include Botswana National Museum in Gaborone, Gasi-Bathan 2, Sekopotso, Museum in Kanai, Gasi-Seychelles 1 Museum in Malepo Lowell, Kerma 3 Memorial Museum in Sro, NHABE Museum in Morne, Fithadakobo Museum in Mochudai, Super Ngwano Museum Centre in Francistown.
Botswana.
Botswana/Bats, Enat/, officially the Republic of Botswana, is a landlocked country located in southern Africa. The citizens refer to themselves as Batswana. Formerly the British Protectorate of Bechuanaland, Botswana adopted its new name after becoming independent within the Commonwealth on September 30, 1966. It has held uninterrupted democratic elections since independence. Botswana is flat, and up to 70% is covered by the Kalahari Desert. It is bordered by South Africa to the south and southeast, Namibia to the west and north, and Zimbabwe to the northeast. Its border with Zambia to the north near Kazungula, Zambia, is poorly defined but at most is a few hundred meters long. A mid-sized country of just over 2 million people, Botswana is one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. Botswana was one of the poorest countries in Africa when it gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1966, with a GDP per capita of about $70 per year. Botswana has since transformed itself, becoming one of the fastest-growing economies in the world with a GDP, purchasing power parity, per capita of about $16,400 per year as of 2027 DEGS, and longitudes 20 deg and 30 DEGE. The country is predominantly flat, tending toward gently rolling tableland. Botswana is dominated by the Kalahari Desert, which covers up to 70% of its land surface. The Okavango Delta, one of the world's largest inland deltas, is in the northwest. The Makgadikgadi Pan, a large salt pan, lies in the north. The Limpopo River Basin, the major landform of all of southern Africa, lies partly in Botswana, with the basins of its tributaries, the Notwane, Bonwapitz, Mahalapswe, Lotsane, Motludes and the Shash, located in the eastern part of the country. The Notwane provides water to the capital through the Gaborone Dam. The Kobe River lies to the north, providing a boundary between Botswana and Namibia's Zambezi region. The Kobe River meets with the Zambezi River at a place called Kazungula, meaning a small sausage tree, a point where Sebutwan and his Makololo tribe crossed the Zambezi into Zambia.
Ecology.
Botswana has diverse areas of wildlife habitat. In addition to the delta and desert areas, there are grasslands and savannas, where blue wildebeest, antelopes, and other mammals and birds. Soret's Khema, a leader in the independence movement and a legitimate claimant to the NGWATO chiefship, was elected as the first president, going on to be re-elected twice. The presidency passed to the sitting vice president, Kwet Masia, who was elected in his own right in 1984 and re-elected in 1989 and 1994. Masia retired from office in 1998, and was succeeded by Festus Mogae, who was elected in his own right in 1999 and re-elected in 2004. The presidency passed in 2008 to Ian Khema, son of the first president, who had been serving as Mogae's vice president since resigning his position in 1998 as commander of the Botswana Defence Force to take up this civilian role. A long-running dispute over the northern border with Namibia's Caprivi Strip was the subject of a ruling by the International Court of Justice in December 1999, which ruled that Kasakili Island belongs to Botswana.
Geography.
At 581,730 kilometers to 224,607 square miles, Botswana is the world's 48th largest country. It is comparable in size to Madagascar. It lies between latitudes 17° and High Commission territories were not included, but provision was made for their later incorporation. However, their inhabitants began to be consulted by the UK, and although successive South African governments sought to have the territories transferred, the UK kept delaying. Consequently, it never occurred. The election of the nationalist government in 1948, which instituted apartheid, and South Africa's withdrawal from the Commonwealth in 1961, ended any prospect of incorporation of the territories into South Africa. An expansion of British central authority and the evolution of tribal government resulted in the 1920 establishment of two advisory councils to represent both Africans and Europeans. Proclamations in 1934 regulated tribal rule and powers. A European African Advisory Council was formed in 1951, and the 1961 Constitution established a consultative legislative council. In June 1964, the UK accepted proposals for a democratic self-government in Botswana. The seat of government was moved in 1965 from Mafeking in South Africa, to the newly established Gaborone, which sits near its border. The 1965 Constitution led to the first general elections into independence on September 30, 1966, and a high gross national income, possibly the fourth largest in Africa, giving the country a modest standard of living. The country, being a member of the African Union, also has a strong tradition as a representative democracy and has the second highest Human Development Index of continental sub-Saharan African countries, despite having been ravaged by the AIDS epidemic.
History.
In the 19th century, hostilities broke out between Tswana inhabitants of Botswana and Bell tribes who were making incursions into the territory from the northeast. Tensions also escalated with the Dutch Boer settlers from the Transvaal to the east. After appeals by the Batswana leaders Khema III, Bathan and Sibel for assistance, the British government put Bechuanaland under its protection on March 31, 1885. The Northern Territory remained under direct administration as the Bechuanaland Protectorate and is modern-day Botswana, while the Southern Territory became part of the Cape Colony and is now part of the Northwest Province of South Africa. The majority of Setswana-speaking people today live in South Africa. When the Union of South Africa was formed in 1910 out of the main British colonies in the region, the Bechuanaland Protectorate, Basutoland, now Lesotho, and Swaziland,